Good evening, everyone. This is Freda here with Arusta, and we are here with yet another spoiler Key Sanity Open match with siberianbull9 of the Super Salty Dungeoneers versus TheDaddyGamers of the Cool Rush Gamers. Not a ton on the line on this one, but it should be a fun race nonetheless. They are both the 7th and 8th place runner teams of the Village of Outcast division in the Dark World Conference. And how are you doing today, Arusta?
I am doing very well. I actually commentated a match between these two yesterday, and for those of you who aren't familiar with these two teams, they are both very, very well matched, very evenly matched. So it should be a very interesting race, even though they are near the bottom of their division.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing how the routing goes. For those that are just tuning in for your spoiler log week, there are two runners on this one for each team, and then two co-pilots, which will be given a spoiler log at the start. The spoiler log has the location of all the items. It has useful things like the stun prizes and the tree poles, as well as what crystals and medallions they need to find. And for these, the co-pilots will be... I had it somewhere, now it's gone.
So the Cool Rush Gamers are being co-piloted by Cool Papa Bell, who actually was the pilot for their race yesterday, which Cool Rush Gamers won. And then Super Salty Dungeoneers are being co-piloted by Sawney Wrath, who was the runner yesterday, while Siberian Bull was the pilot yesterday. So they've sort of swapped roles for today.
Yes. Yeah, I'm hoping to see maybe we can split this week with different runners and different co-pilots, but it should be fun nonetheless. I think we're getting ready to get started here.
And so as Freda mentioned, the big thing for this week is that they both have the spoiler log, so you will probably not see a map check or any of the things you'd normally see because they already have that information. It's actually pretty much right at the top of the spoiler log, so that's going to be, of course, the first thing they check and then figure out how do I get each of these crystals that I will need.
Yep, so we're seeing two different starts for these runners. Both of these are pretty common starts in spoiler that I've seen. Either the Houlihan start from the Cool Rush Gamers versus the bomb start from the Super Salty Dungeon. Usually, both of these strats let the runners get some basic items or some rupees up so that they can be ready to pick up whatever is in Kakariko, or if they decide to start somewhere else, do that instead. Fortunately, Cool Rush Gamer is having a bit of an issue with Houlihan there. We'll be able to take care of it this time. Meanwhile, Siberian Bull is heading towards Kakariko, skip the race game, but with 5 bombs in hand.
Yeah, and the intro routes here are actually something we had discussed with them yesterday after their match. Cool Rush Gamers had decided to do this Houlihan play just so they have the rupees to buy anything they need, whereas the Super Salty Dungeoneers have sort of gone with this bomb route, or yesterday they went with just a normal Kakariko route, just so that way you might have to risk double dipping if you don't find rupees, but it does save you a bit of time.
Indeed. So it looks like we got a fire rod out of Chicken Hut. And heading into Blind's Hut for some more, so looks like it might be nothing in the well either. So let's see what we have in Blind's Hut here today. We have some rupees, some more rupees, and a lot more rupees. So this tells me that it's very likely the bottle merchant is something between the Cool Rush Gamers movements around here and then just going down for all those rupees in the bottom of Blind. Or potentially Zora could be available as well.
Yeah, and that's one of those subtle things about spoiler log races is that if you know you need to buy something, you actually need to route in rupees, because normally in a normal seed, you open all sorts of chests. Rupees usually aren't an issue past the early game, but here you're going to be skipping chests that would normally have, big 20s or 5 rupees or things like that. So you won't get that steady stream of income.
Yep, looks like the well only having the blue mail. So it looks like not a lot in Kakariko this seed. We'll see if the sick kid ends up having something, because there was a bottle as well as the glove up in the Lost Forest.
Yeah, and so just so everybody knows, we have updated the crystals and pendants down at the bottom. The crystals, the most important ones are that Misery Mire is a crystal, and so, you will need Samaria. Turtle Rock is a pendant, though it is the green pendant, so we might not need the Ice Rod.
It looks like there was actually some more stuff in the well that Siberian Bull decided to not pick up, including a bug net, as well as something else that I forgot. And also, yeah, the fire rod was in Chicken Hut as well for Siberian Bull. There were some more bombs in there as well that would have been useful to get. Okay, and it looks like Sick Kid does indeed have something, so since Siberian Bull is heading back down here.
Yeah, and one thing to note here for those of you who aren't familiar with the league rules on this is they got the spoiler log pretty much right at the exact start. So the first couple minutes here, you might see runners sort of redoing things, but that's just because, the pilot is frantically searching to find stuff.
Well, they have managed to converge exactly down here, and actually Race Game does have some. So I guess we will see what both of our runners will be getting here. Fortunately, the co-pilot for the spoiler pilot for Siberian Bull missed this on the way up, so... Ooh, it's the lamp, okay. It's also a possibility that they didn't think that this was required, since the fire rod was also accepted. And then maybe found something later in the log that, like, never mind, we should probably have... Like, for example, Aga Tower.
Yeah, or even since you need Dark Palace and Misery Mire are both crystals, the time you spent, if you're not 100% confident in your Dark Basement strategy in Mire, the 30 seconds you spend getting that lamp is probably more than made up for in Mire if you're not 100% confident.
Yep, that can also be true. And it looks like the next area of progression will be over at Eastern, as we're seeing once again some very nice sync heading right into Sahasrala's hut. Probably. Definitely. So what do we got here? Some arrows, a piece of heart, and a big key of mire.
Yeah, and in case anyone's wondering, why are they checking the chest that's just arrows this early in the seed, since the pilot is usually consumed with how do I make an overall route, so it's very likely the pilot just said, hey, there's something in the back of the hut, and didn't bother to tell him which chest, just because save time so they could focus on writing the route.
Indeed. Plus, having arrows is nice to have. And eventually some pieces of heart will lead into a full heart, which you won't be going too much out of your way for full hearts in these seeds, so if there's a bunch of pieces of heart along the way, they're definitely worth grabbing. Let's see, Cannonball Chest appears to have something. A bottle, okay. I'm actually seeing a split here now. Looks like Cool Rush gamers want to get something on the right side, which I'm guessing at this point must be safety related rather than required. While Siberian Bull's heading straight to the left side. Oh, it's the Moon Pearl. Okay, in that case, that actually means they probably just got the two locations backwards. One of those is the map chest, while the other is the compass chest. And that is something that you usually won't know off the top of your head. I know I didn't. I ended up writing down all the map and compass chests for each dungeon.
Yeah, because especially in, even if you're familiar with the NMG speedrun, you wouldn't know, you never get any of those chests. And even in normal rando, a lot of the times you'll just say, first chest in Eastern Palace, or just know you're clearing it anyways.
Yep. Okay, so now we're just missing another glove or the hammer for our Dark World access. Let's see what's at the dam here. Oh, there's our mitts. Okay, there's our Dark World access then.
Yeah, and then some of the other items they'll need long term will be they'll need a bow for Eastern/pod, hookshot and mirror for Swamp Palace, along with flippers, hammer, of course, and then flute.
Well, not necessarily flippers. Swamp Palace is a pendant after all. Ooh, getting a Turtle Rock small key. That the Super Salty Dungeoneers decided to skip actually, so we'll have to see how far into Turtle Rock is required.
Oh, I apologize. It seems like there's just the tracker rate and input down there. The Desert Palace, if you're looking at Siberian Bull screen tracker, Desert Palace is a crystal and Swamp is a pendant. I think the tracking system just has been eating some inputs today.
Oh, yep, I was looking at the other one, so that makes sense. And we are seeing a fake flipper over to the waterfall cave, I think, or possibly Zor's Ledge, but can't really get there from that, so we'll see. So what do we have in Waterfall Ferry? Meanwhile, Siberian Bull is heading up the mountain without any way of getting over to the right side or even Hera at this point. There's our bow.
Yeah, and just to provide a bit more information about the mode is that this is key sanity, so we will need a bunch of big keys, some small keys, etc.
Yeah, these brownies are tough to deal with no weapon to really take care of. Fortunately, the old man's willing to oblige and get you some money or some more.
Yeah, I really like that decision to get some more health here, because with 1.5 hearts, basically 2 hits from the cabbage would have knocked him out. So I like that decision.
Yep, and he did get 300 rupees from the old man there. We'll see what's in Spectacle Rock Cave. Meanwhile, the Cool Rush gamers are heading to Thieves Town, or at the very least, the Village of Outcasts. There's a pod key over on the chest game. Need at least 1 or 2 of those. Very likely one or 2 more. Ah, so it's the Cane of Samaria up on Spectacle Rock. Interesting. I wonder if they came up here for that 300 to get to Zora, or if they just wanted to get that out of the way. Kind of curious where the flute is at this point.
Yeah, without hammer or hookshot to access East Death Mountain, and that cane really doesn't open anything until we get a medallion and flute, so doesn't really do a whole lot for him right there.
No, well, there's that flute over on Stumpy. it's starting to feel a bit like Meyer area is the plan soon.
Yeah, certainly, because since neither of them seem to have actually paid attention to. Well, I was going to say neither of them paid attention to Skull Woods, but
I was just thinking that myself. I'm like, well, I guess Skull Woods must not have much interesting, but turns out, yes, it does. It is a pendant, so they won't have to finish it, but...
And it is worth noting, Siberian Bull is completely dry on magic, so if they're going to get that vanilla big key chest from the middle of it, the easy way with Samaria, or go back to Moth, they'll need to get some magic at some point.
Yep, there's the Desert Small Key. So that must have something interesting over there. And then falling down the back, so probably will be stuck saving quitting out of this, since there's no guaranteed keys in Pinball Room or anything. And Daddy Gamers is indeed taking that flute over to Meyer. So I'm also guessing something interesting is over in Meyer's shed here. Could it be our boots? Could it finally be a sword? There's our flippers as well. So that was our second chest in Skull Woods.
Yeah, and that puts Siberian Bulls in logic to go over to the area where we found Bo at Waterfall Ferry.
Interesting. That is Quake in Meyer's shed. And then a Skullwood Small Key, which might actually have been the reason he went there.
Yeah, and to answer a question in chat, basically what co-pilot means is that each of these runners has someone else who has the spoiler log, someone else from their team. So for Super Salty Dungeoneers, it is Sawney Wrath, and for Cool Rush Gamers, it is Cool Papa Bell. And that person with the spoiler log is allowed to look up basically anything they want, and they sort of talk through, hey, check this chest, hey, check that chest, this chest is useless, etc.
Okay, so Siberian Bull is taking his flippers and his 500 rupees and heading over to Zora's area. We'll see if he plans on getting actual Zora itself, but I'm guessing with the way the Daddy Gamers is heading as well, that the Zora must, or Zora's Ledge at the very least, must have something.
Yeah, and I like the play there to take the empty bottle and check it at Waterfall Ferry while you're right there. Because this is a very fast mode. You're usually a little lower on health than you might be used to. So having that free potion is a very nice safety to have.
Okay, looks like I was wrong. Oof, Daddy Gamer's having a bit of a problem in that first room of Skull Woods. We'll get the flippers out of the deal. And be able to use the key to get out. So if there's anything else they would like to do in this area. Like possibly walk over to Pod is an option now.
Yeah, looks like they are heading that way.
Yeah, that looks to be the plan. So I'm guessing at this point Hammer has to be in Pod or Catfish or something similar. Or the path to the Hammer at the very least.
Yeah, because that's definitely one of the things with these spoiler log seeds is once you figure out what items are important, you then often need to figure out, okay, how do I get there? Because it's possible that Hammer isn't in Pod, but it's something like Hookshot to get to East Death Mountain.
Indeed. Definitely a lot of forced circuitous routes that can happen in this. It looks like either Pyramid or Pod is definitely the plan of the day for the Daddy Gamers. Oh, we're actually going to see Blacksmith picked up by Siberian Bull. This was not done by Cool Rush Game. It'll be interesting to see what they miss on this case. It's not really a bad time to do it since they're going to activate the flute anyway.
Yeah, and especially without hammer, since, if there's something in Hype Cave, you can just play this route out to Hype Cave, do your save and quit, and then activate your flute and turn in Jeremiah at the same time.
Yep. And we also didn't see Hype Cave from the Daddy Gamers, so they might be planning on coming back to Hype Cave with the hammer. Which at this point, like I said, I'm about 90% sure hammer is just sitting in pod here somewhere. Ooh, there's a mirror. Or it's the mirror leading to the pod, to the hammer.
Yeah, and it is worth noting, with only one small key, looks like you're kind of limited on what all you can check here.
Yeah. Going all this way and then still not going over to pod might make actually grabbing Jeremiah a mistake at this point. It might have been better to just go from Hype Cave over to pod and grab your mirror from there, and then you can much more easily do Blacksmith and Purple Chest. Also, of note, Ice Palace is not completely open, but pretty heavily open at this point. Especially if we find that hammer here soon. Of course, it's also very possible that the hammer is just on Jeremiah himself. Thus being able to skip that pod dip for the mirror and just be able to get over there with a hammer. So we'll have to see. We're going to see turn-ins from both of our runners here shortly. This is kind of two different approaches to similar problems, which is going to be interesting. If it is Purple Chest, though, the Daddy Gamers will have a quicker time turning the Purple Chest, since he can just mirror back and forth while Siberian Bull's going to have to run back around. Oh, okay, we have a small key to Thieves Town. So that can't lead to hammer, since hammer is required for that chest.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing to pick up there, because it's not really something you technically need unless there's something in the backside.
Yep, and there's that purple chest. So Daddy Gamers is going to do that now. So purple chest must hold our answer.
Yeah, and it looks like Siberian Bull is going to transition over to Dark World and pick up the purple chest. So this is where that mirror is really going to pay off.
It's our hook shot. Okay. So we're going to take that to Paradox Cave? Yep, yes we are.
It is interesting that the Daddy Gamers did not go and pick up the old man on the way here. Even though we know he only has money, which at this point you have to assume Zora's kind of dead, having that save and quit point might be worth the time to just do it right now.
Yep, but while they're up here, they can also do other things after getting that cane. So I'm kind of curious if what Siberian Bull grabbed that cane for at this point. Or that 300 rupees, since they found 300 more rupees already, so...
Yeah, and Kane really doesn't open up much, given that Meyer is Ether and we still don't have that on either side.
Indeed. Okay, so now Daddy Gamers has gone to grab his cane, and we'll be heading back down. While Siberian Bull is heading to turn in Purple Chest, and we might actually see another convergence over at Paradox Cave. Or potentially Hookshot Cave, or anything along those lines. Yep, it looks like pod, that mirror is not where they want to head at the moment, so saving pod for another time. Ooh, Daddy Gamer's taking a death on Death Mountain. Very aptly named Death Mountain at this point.
Yeah, with only 4 hearts, those cabbages can hurt.
Yeah, the early blue mail is nice, but it doesn't really help much against the cabbages, or much on Death Mountain. It's been a pretty heart-light seed so far. I've seen a couple pieces and only that one full. So I guess, while I wouldn't say normally that getting that heart off of Bottle Merchant is worth a ton of time, it definitely seems to be the case this seed so far.
Yeah, and one thing that is worth noting here, since Daddy Gamers has Mitts and Mirror, might be able to route if there's something on Dark Death Mountain, might be able to route that a little more easily rather than Siberian Bull, who's going to be very careful about when they transition into Dark World since they can't get back.
Yep. Talking about pieces of heart, that looks like the 4th one for Siberian Bull, so making it up to 5. And is this where we will find our hammer? This is where we find our sword, finally. Ooh, all the hearts, though. And a 4th. Is that our 4th bottle?
I think that's the 3rd, but Siberian Bull now has 2 reds and a green, so very nice amount of safeties there.
Definitely. Definitely a worth it Paradox Cave, I'd say, even if it had nothing directly useful, though sword arguably. And it looks like we are going to head over to Super Bunny Cave and then Hookshot. Like, Daddy Gamers can do a little bit more of Turtle Rock than Siberian Bull can. Actually, never mind. They can't even get into Turtle Rock, so unless the hammer is up here.
Yeah, the other thing which we'll see if there's anything on it is Daddy Gamers can get the item off Floating Island, whereas Siberian Bull, without the mirror, if there's anything on Floating Island, is going to have to put it off for a while.
Yeah, that could definitely be an issue for him. There's a Ganon's Tower small. One of those is nice to have. And there's our ether for mine. And they just save and quit out of there, so that's all they're doing here. We'll see if Daddy Gamers does indeed continue on for that Floating Island chest. So is Hammer just in Mire? Because everything they've been building for makes this feel like Mire.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's definitely on the table. They're sort of running short on checks.
Yeah, he's getting safeties. This feels like Mire to me. Meanwhile, Daddy Gamers is indeed continuing on to the Hookshot Cave. It's a piece of heart, another piece of heart, and nothing else useful over there, apparently. And Floating Island's nothing as well, so there was actually nothing else up here, it looks like.
Though they can, if he happens to know the Hera pot technique, can actually clear Hera, which is a red crystal.
Meanwhile, it looks like Siberian Bull is heading back up to Skull Woods.
I wonder if maybe there's something on Mothula, because it is worth noting the first time Siberian Bull came up here had no magic whatsoever, so no way to access the backside.
Yeah, no magic and no sword in order to get to Mothula himself, so that would definitely seem like a possibility here. Meanwhile, the Eastern Big Key was in Hera. And with that, the Daddy Gamers is heading back to Eastern to See, I guess show us what's in the big chest and Armos tonight. The real question is, where is this hammer? Because without the hammer, Siberian Bull can't get to the pod, the mirror and pod very easily. And at this point, I feel like they're priced into making sure they get there via the hammer versus other ways of getting.
Yeah, and frankly, at this point, it's entirely possible that they've decided that, you know, we want to make sure pod is a single dip, so let's even put it off till we have hammer and enough keys to do it at once.
Yeah, but with this, we do know that Eastern is the Eastern big key is in Harris. That mirror is the easiest way of getting there. So even if they do get the hammer, it might not even have been worth it at this point. But being able to single dip pod will still be a bit of an advantage. Ooh, getting a full magic drop from the mini Helmasaur there in Skullwoods will help. Meanwhile, let us see. Looks like the big chest has nothing, so Armos has something. And what about Mothula? Very good Fire Rod Mothula fight from Siberian Bull there. He has a big key for Hera. Okay. And that was only a pendant, so... I wonder if that means, since DaddyGamers was up there with a hookshot, that means the... if there is an item in Hera, it's probably on the big chest, unless neither runner is comfortable doing the Hera pod.
Yeah, the other interesting thing is we're 30 minutes in and neither runner has boots, which usually that's the kind of item, since it improves your time and movement so much, that if there's any way you can route it in without going completely out of your way, you usually try to get that early. So I wonder how deep they're buried.
Meanwhile, the Desert Big Key is on Armos. And it looks like this path does indeed eventually lead to Hammer, because that mirror is required to dip into pod again. Or rather, it is required to dip into pod for that mirror the long way around. So DaddyGamers went back to 3. We'll see if they had to do Mothula now themselves.
Yeah, and it is worth noting with the big key of Desert Palace, that crystal can be cleared. You can't necessarily get everywhere in there without the small key, which DaddyGamers does not yet have, but you can clear the boss itself.
Yep. So, we're going to see the Desert Small Key from the DaddyGamers, so... I'm guessing this whole path is going to eventually lead to Desert Palace in some form or the other. Which means that mirror is required to get into Desert Palace. We'll see if it's actually an accessible spot. With or without the big key. Because if it's in the big chest or Orlando, that means the Dungeoneers or Siberian Bull is required to go up to Hera at this point and go do that fight. But he'll be able to do more stuff in Hera, like the big chest and the boss. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting seed. We're pretty far into a spoiler seed. You don't usually only see fighter sword and no boots, no hammer this far. It's very uncommon.
Yeah, especially since one of the things about spoiler seeds, not only the fact that you know everything, but just in general, it tends to be sort of a shorter mode. I think the race yesterday between these two teams, the winning team had about a 108-ish, and then the second place team had like 120 or so.
Yep, these tend to run somewhere between an hour and hour 15, typically, from what I've seen and done. Ooh, DaddyGamers having a bit of an issue with the Gibdozen. Try not to waste. Ooh, and got bounced into the Wallmaster there. That's tough. Gonna take a quick death here to just refresh heart. Should have at least a couple reds and a green potion though. Or maybe he missed the green, but at least should have some potions.
Yeah, I think DaddyGamers has at least one red potion because there was one that came preloaded. Siberian Bull bought through the ferry another red potion. So it might just be one red.
Okay, that's very possible. But yeah, 7 heart, even with blue mail, 7 heart, no half magic, fighter sword, no hammer, Mothula is definitely not an easy. Meanwhile, we are indeed seeing Siberian Bull head back up to Hera, and we'll be getting his Eastern big, as well as potentially just finishing the dungeon.
Yeah, it is a crystal, so you need to do it at some point, and with the big key already, basically the only thing you can't do is the basement coffee break.
Yep, it looks like no Hera pot from Siberian Bull here. I just might not be comfortable with it, which is perfectly fine. It's also possible they only know the boot setup for it. There we go. Took a bit, but DaddyGamers do indeed get down the Mothula there and gets their Hera big. And we're about to see what is in that Hera big chest. Another big key. Oh, the Cannon's Tower big key. Wow.
That is a pretty important one, because this is one of the things about this mode is that it's 7/7, but you do still need to climb Ganon's Tower. So that big key is hard required.
Yep. Don't know if it was worth the big key there, but at the very least, it is required at some point. I'd say it's definitely interesting that they both went to do Mothula so early, with it only seeming to block the Ganon's Tower big key, which is one of the things they can do last. So they could very easily have saved this until they made their last trip up the mountain. Unless something happens to be on Mothula here. What was on Desert Ledge there? I did not see it.
I was watching the Moldorm fight here, so I unfortunately did not see it either.
Fair enough. Okay, so all this setup to get into the desert. Let's see what desert had.
Oh, there was a full heart on Desert Ledge. Thank you to our excellent tracker, Band-Aid Man 25, who's doing a good job pushing buttons for us.
And there's our hammer. In the desert big chest. My goodness, what a trip. And it's funny because you see that in the spoiler, you're like, oh, that's pretty easy to get. It's just in desert. Okay, where's the book at? Oh. Oh no. Oh, Master Sword, okay. That's definitely worth grabbing there. Okay, so Siberian Bull's going to go finish Eastern now, which will let him get his Desert Big Key and can go get the hammer at long range. So at this point, we are looking for not a whole lot for Goma.
Yeah, key-wise, we need a pod big key, and potentially, depending on how they decide to spend their keys, potentially one more key. I don't think either runner has used their existing one pod small. And then Thieves Town big key, and I think, and Turtle Rock, a couple of keys for Turtle Rock.
Turtle Rock is
or
only
not
a penny,
Turtle Rock,
though.
excuse me.
Yeah. So I think really just the Thieves Town big key and the pod big key, really. And probably some more safety somewhere in the middle there, but we'll see.
Yeah, and if there's any way you can route it in without going out of your way, a third sword would definitely be nice. And actually, given that they have to do Vidi and Helmasaur, even silver arrows, if they're easy to find, might make up for the time.
Yep. Any of those items would be a huge help for not having to do Master Sword, Silverless Cannon. And if you do, you'll probably want at least Red Mail and maybe another heart or two. Or Half Magic, for that matter. There's the red boomerang on the Desert Palace boss, so that should do it for that dungeon.
Yeah, and since we're about 40 minutes in and we're about to see our most fight we've already seen, just give everybody a quick race reset here. This is week 7 of the Link to the Past Randomizer League. My name is Arusta. My co-commentator today is Frede, and our tracker is Bandman. This is on Speed Gaming 4. Thank you for watching. This is the Super Salty Dungeoneers Siberian Bull, piloted by Sawnywrath, against the Cool Rush Gamers, the Daddy Gamers, piloted by Cool Papa Bell.
Okay, so Daddy Gamers is heading, I believe, to Hype Cave. They haven't been there yet. I can't recall what was in there. Okay, there's that Desert Big for Siberian Bull. I'm also curious to see if, with Hera being done for Siberian Bull, I'm kind of curious if the Pyramid Fairy actually has some. Because Meyer is also very accessible and doable at this point.
Yeah, especially since Siberian Bull still has most of those potions they bought, or maybe even all of them, I think. So, even if you're worried about Meyer Vidi with just regular arrows and fighter sword and hammer, you have options to save you.
Indeed. And we are seeing some potions being bought from the Daddy Gamers over here, so it tells me they're planning on dipping a more difficult dungeon, which is probably either Ice Palace or Mire. It looks like Ice Palace is the plan. So this is likely to lead us to either a third sword, a second bow, or one of our big keys, or multiples of those. Or maybe even boots, finally.
Yeah, which explains why he bought 2 different green potions, because without half magic, or Bombos, Cold Stare takes your entire magic bar to clear.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so Siberian Bull about to get his Master Sword, and finally got his hammer. Once again, what a path for that. Looks like the Pangea room is nothing.
Ooh, and it looks like we're about to see an icebreaker.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you who aren't too familiar with this glitch, it's a recently discovered glitch which was just made legal by the Racing Council a couple weeks ago. Essentially, you'll see what happens, but basically with Samaria, you sort of almost walk through that wall a little bit. I'll warn you that, like, it seems intimidating, it looks like it's super precise, but it is something there's a lot of good videos available, and it saves you so much time in Ice Palace that if you run this game even casually, like, it's worth trying to learn.
Well, there's something in the big key chest there. And yeah, I agree. It's pretty easy to learn, along with the new Swamp Palace diver down glitches that we might see. Actually, we probably won't see that today. Swamp Palace seems not very required at this point. Though I'll change my mind on that if the Swamp Small Key is picked up some. Talking about keys, that is our Thieves Town big key, so that's another piece of the puzzle done.
Yeah, and just to shout out, Siberian Bull did a very nice use of the fire rod strats there to knock out land mows pretty quick.
Yep, and the cape also along the way in Ice Palace, so that's a very useful safety item for both for pretty much the rest of the seed.
And shout outs to the raid from Speed Gaming 2. Welcome to everybody. This is a match between Siberian Bull of Super Salty Dungeoneers and the TheDaddyGamers of Cool Rush Gamers. Right now, the seed is, I don't know if I'd even give either runner a lead. Maybe TheDaddyGamers has a small lead, but it's pretty close, to be honest.
Yep, TheDaddyGamers is ahead on the logical progression at this point, and is doing Ice Palace for the Thieves Town Big. But there was an item in... Ooh, it looks like there's an item up Ganon's Tower. Or not Ganon's Tower, Akanim Tower. The Castle Tower, even. I don't believe we have a key for this yet, so it must be the first chest.
I don't think we've seen one, so yeah, it would be the first chest.
You think this is our pod big? Oh, it's a tempered sword. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense to grab. With so much of the seed remaining, it saves you time pretty much in every fight. Saves you a ton of time in the Ganon fight. The only reason you wouldn't go out of your way to grab that is if the Force Sword is available, which we have not seen is available somewhere easily.
Yep. Oh, and there's the pod big key on Cold Stare. So that is effectively go mode for our runners. Or at the very least, it's go mode for TheDaddyGamers. So Siberian Bull is going to take care of this first. Oh, he did get silvers out of Ice Palace as well. Wow. So Ice Palace had a lot of stuff in this seed. No boots though, so I'm actually kind of curious if boots are in here in Mire, and that is why Siberian Bull's heading here first. Because I know if it were anything else, basically, I would prefer to have the cape for Vidi, or silver. Meanwhile, it looks like the TheDaddyGamers is going to start cleaning up dungeons, starting with Thieves Town.
Yeah, and looks like they will be checking at least a couple chests here, so it makes sense to pick up pieces of heart, and since you're still on light numbers of heart at this point, maybe you'd even try to fill up one more heart container just with pieces of heart, if you can do so easily.
So we just got a pod key out of Mire. It looks like the bridge is where they're going to head, but you can just hook shot to the bridge from the other half of the... It's a bit faster than having to run back and forth. I do believe Siberian Bull still has at least one, if not two potions left, so this should be pretty... Yep, does hookshot over here and gets another key. Ganon's Tower small. It is not an ultra required one, but good to have. Still have not seen those boots. They must be in a terrible spot. That was scary.
Yeah, it is worth noting that we as the commentators do have access to the spoiler log. I saw someone ask about this a few minutes ago in chat, but both of us have basically decided that we're not going to look at it except maybe near the end of the seed when we see they're skipping stuff, because we want to preserve the interest as much as you guys do.
Yep. Well, talking about pod small keys, there's another one in the attic of Thieves. Yeah, someone in chat just mentioning potentially boots and pod, and I'm starting to agree. Both of them are now gone, maybe not, if not out of their way, then at least taking the time to pick up excess pod keys here. Okay, so let's go see Tempered Sword Vitreous from Siberian Bull. Took a lightning shot, but looking pretty good otherwise. Just needs to finish this last eye. Fortunately, only has one arrow, so he's gonna have to use Tempered Sword to finish it. Takes, I believe, 16 slashes to kill the eye with Temper. Or 8 spins. There's the finish there from Siberian Bull. And gets arrows back for his trouble. So no boots in mire.
Yeah, and it is worth noting, this is one of those subtle things, but with the way Daddy Gamers has routed this, and we'll have silver arrows going into the eye boss there, it's probably going to have a much faster fight than what Siberian just had. It's one of those subtle things, but over time, like, you know, that could be a minute, 2 minute difference in a race that's hour 10, hour 20.
Yep. Actually, still kind of curious why Siberian Bull went there first. I'll have to ask him at the end. I'm guessing a pod key they thought they needed, but... Meanwhile, Blind just has bombs, and Siberian Bull's heading to Ice Palace to get the rest of his Go Mode item.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that the Tower of Hera at this point for Daddy Gamers does have the Ganon's Tower big key, so he'll need to go there for that and the crystal, but there's nothing that is going to make him need to go there right now. He could put that off for a while and make that his last crystal.
Indeed. We are going to see Pengator room from Siberian Bull. It's just arrows, though. Might have gotten the chests backward. Looks like no icebreaker from Siberian Bull.
Nice move to use the walls there to trap the two jumping Stalfoses, though.
Yeah, it worked pretty well, actually. Okay, so let's see if... So Daddy Gamers only has one more pod key, so going straight to the back. So if boots are anywhere, it'll be on helmet.
Looks like Siberian Bull setting up for the Ice Palace bomb jump. Oh, gonna have to be careful. 2 hearts. Can try this only one more time.
Does he have a red potion? He has a green potion left. Or a blue potion, rather. I'm gonna get too many more attempts at this. I say that looked too high. That looks good. There we go.
Yeah, very good. And it is good he got that, because it is worth noting without the without any keys or the big key, could not complete the dungeon without the Ice Palace bomb jump.
Yep. Gonna have to do the drop down to get over to the right side as well.
And to answer a question in chat, yeah, there are a bunch of different setups for the Ice Palace bomb jump, but the one Siberian Bull is using is similar to the one I use, and you do need pretty much 1 pixel between the sword and the bomb. That's one of those pieces of tech that if you run this game, you really should learn. It looks intimidating. There are a bunch of videos, and it's one of those things, once you learn it the first time, it's very easy to de-rust on it, even if you haven't done it for, weeks or months even.
Indeed, yeah, it's not too hard. It's actually not as required as it used to be, since the new icebreaker glitch makes it much more easy to get over and much easier to route the whole rest of this dungeon.
And for those of you who were here earlier and saw how Icebreaker worked, essentially what you're going to see is Siberian Bull is basically going backwards through the dungeon, and then it's going to have to go through all these rooms a second time to get back to the boss. Whereas the Daddy Gamers, starting with the Icebreaker glitch, basically just went through this entire route once.
Okay, so Daddy Gamers just needs to do Meyer and Hera, and we'll be able to finish. So far, I will be curious to see if they end up going to go get that tempered sword, though.
It is worth noting, with it being on Castle Tower there is the option, if you feel like you can do the rest of the dungeon or everything else before it without it, you put it off until after you complete Agus Tower, you end up at the top of the pyramid, and you just mirror from there.
Yeah, there's not one in Ganon's Tower on the way up. That's definitely probably the ideal way of doing it, honestly. Because at this point, Tempered isn't going to get you much easier, other than maybe a little bit of the escape. Or not the escape, the top of the because Vitreous goes down just as even quicker with the silver arrow. Talking about silver arrows, there's Siberian Bull's silver arrows. Siberian Bull's gonna have to be careful here, though. He does only have, I believe, the 1 green potion left. And no health, so he just gets hit once by the cold stare. Looks like he is gonna green potion and get the fire rod up. Very nice job on the two on the right. One more shot. Very nice cold stare.
Yeah, that was a very nice cold stare given the health restrictions.
Yeah. Okay, so Ice Palace is finished, so they have the rest of their go mode item. Just need to go finish Thieves Town and Pod at this point to catch up. And here's that Silver's Vitreous you were talking about earlier. Definitely a bit faster than Tempered. Especially this last part.
Yeah, and even getting a nice refund on most of the arrows there, too.
So I'd say we've come far enough into this seed. I think it's time to find out where those boots are. What do you think?
Well, I looked at it a couple minutes ago, and yeah, it makes sense why they never got them, because they are Swamp Palace in the Waterfall Room. So you need to find the Swamp Small, and then go most of the way through Swamp.
Graveyard Ledge had the Swamp Small. So yeah, it's just definitely one of those seeds where you're just not gonna get the boots out. Yeah.
Yeah, and looks like TDG is going up through the east side of the mountain. We'll see what they decide to do up here, or if it's just a quick way to get up to the quickest way to get up to the Dark World, and then mirror over to Hera.
I'm actually curious why they didn't do Floating Island the first time up here.
Yeah, you must have seen what I saw in the spoiler log.
Yeah.
Because it is worth noting, the first time TDG was up here, they did the front half of the hookshot cave. They had mirror, and we just saw it on screen. That's the third sword. And they did the front half of the hookshot cave, already had mirror, so picking up that third sword would not really have taken him much time at all.
Yeah, especially with that knowledge, I think that early trip to pod for the mirror definitely was the correct routing in this case, which the Cool Rush Gamers did much earlier than the Salty Dungeoneers.
Yeah, and I will just note that the representative from Cool Rush Gamers, Cool Papa Bell, who's doing the co-piloting here, was actually the same pilot who they used yesterday, and yesterday did a fantastic job routing. So I think there's definitely praise needed for their co-pilot here.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not an easy job, and I'd say they did a good job in this seed as well. Not too much. There's some things that could have worked out weirdly. It was definitely a kind of an awkward seed to route with that mirror location and the hammer location. Traverse through it fast enough to get him to get tempered silvers for TheDaddyGamers. And he should be able to take a decent lead going into Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, especially with having done a few of those, picked up a few potions right before it came here, does have a decent amount of safeties.
Yeah, he's all but 4 of their rubies. Just has to complete Hera real quick and get their big key out of the Ganon Tower big key, rather, out of the Hera big chest.
Yeah, and we're not going to see any of the basement of Ganon's tower anyways, so just going to, in case anyone's wondering, basically all that's down there is you've got a couple keys to various dungeons and 2 progressive shields. There's not really anything else of value down there.
The GFE, the boots, were in the waterfall chest of Swamp. So, Pendant Swamp, mind you, so that was not a thing that was probably happening. I can see a bomb jump to the Hera big chest here. Get that Ganon's Tower big key. Meanwhile, Siberian Bull getting stocked back up of potions here. Gets 3 blues and a...
I mean, at this point, it makes sense if you're already there. Can't really do much with the money after this.
Yep, we'll definitely be at a decent time deficit, though, as they're not even in pod yet, and TheDaddyGamers is about to finish. So it'll be all down to Ganon's Tower execution, but a solid bit of a comfortable lead for Cool Rush Gamers.
Yeah, especially in a seed like this, since it's a spoiler log seed and they already have the Ganon's Tower big key. This would be close enough that in a normal seed, you might say, you know, maybe if one person does full left, but it's in the 4 chests on the right, that might be enough in a normal seed, but that's not going to come into play here.
Indeed it won't. Yeah, it's straight to the top. That said, if TheDaddyGamers does take a death going up the mountain, or the tower here, that could happen. The catch-up could happen. That said, he does have cape and 3 blue potion. It's kind of the point of the seed where the... probably a while ago, actually, it's the point of the seed where the co-pilot is kind of like, okay, just do this dungeon, this dungeon, this dungeon, and go climb. Don't forget the big key in Hera.
Yeah, really, at this point, it's as much about... I mean, the co-pilot's already finished all the routing. It's as much about just, you know, trying to keep your runner calm and, hey, we got this. Stay calm. Don't get tilted if we have a room that doesn't go bad. Stuff like that.
Yep. We aren't running a delay, so co-pilots are able to watch their opponents. It's a special rule for this week only. So just since everything's spoiled anyway, you can't really get much of an advantage looking at your opponent a minute ahead of you. Because if you try to do that, you are not likely to have a good time. So yeah, the Cool Papa Bell is probably just, like I said, keeping TheDaddyGamers calm. You have a lead, they're still doing pop. Just work your way through Ganon's Tower. No rush. Maybe a cool rush.
Nice, I like that.
I'm having a bit of issues with Staphos' room here.
Yeah, and to answer a question in chat, the TDG sort of looking like he almost went left there was probably just thinking, wait, I need to get that key before realizing that, you know, already can get one upstairs from the mini Helmosaurus. So as long as you enter with at least one key, either that pot key or, one, like in this case, one they found elsewhere, you're fine.
Yep, TheDaddyGamers taking care of one of their potions now. So they do have a blue and a green left for the rest of the dungeon. Meanwhile, Siberian Bull finishing his last crystal dungeon, the of Pop, and will be heading up to the mountain as well. Should at the very least get to Ganon's Tower before the TheDaddyGamers finishes Aga 2.
And to answer a question in chat, half magic was on the boss of Turtle Rock, which obviously no one's going to because they'd need at least a couple more keys. They'd need the big key, all that, plus the amount of time you'd waste doing it.
There's a lot of useless things in Turtle Rock too. Which is the Cape and the Can of Burnup, both in Ice Palace, it turns out. Okay, Daddy Gamers working their way up the upper half of Ganon's tower here. No boots, unfortunately, so it'll be a little bit different than normal.
Yeah, it is worth noting, though, that based on the time difference here, if the Daddy Gamers takes an unfortunate death, or what would be really unfortunate, despawns the upper half of the tower right here, that would basically tie them up.
Yeah, that would throw a real plot twist in here, wouldn't it? Fortunately, won't be able to need to risk that part since he needs to pick up this magic anyway for the top part. Which leaves plenty of time for it to close. Hopefully it doesn't forget to grab the key from a mini Moldorm here. Perfect.
Again, answer the question in chat. Where Boots was in the waterfall chest in Swamp Palace, so right near the end of Swamp. So obviously they don't have Swamp Small, which was in Graveyard Ledge, and it's just way out of the way because that was pretty much the only thing in the entirety of Swamp Palace.
Okay, so Daddy Gamers gets to Moldorm 2 right as Siberian Bull makes it into Aga Tower. Or Ganon. One of the towers. And does pick up that heart at the validation chest. Handy to have. This room without boots can definitely be a pain, but navigating it pretty well, actually.
Meanwhile, the Mimics too being a little rough to Siberian here. But gets it, very nice.
There we go. Had a good double there, but misses that last one. Oh no. Nice, another double. Should be one or two more hits on Aga 2. Ooh, almost got blue ball, but managed to get that last hit. So that is Ganon's tower taken care of for the Daddy Gamers. We'll see if he goes to get that butter sword out of the tower. Nope. Not worth it, he says. Let's finish the boss. So 12 hits with Tempered Sword on phase 1 and 2 for Ganon. We're going to use the cape for safety. He does have the blue potion to recharge energy, so not a big issue. And just one hit to make him jump here. Ooh, 2 hearts. Gotta be a little bit careful. There we go.
Yeah, and does still have one more green potion, so not likely to need it with lamp and silver arrows, but if they do, he does have that option.
Yep.
Oh, and that is a rough death there by Siberian Bull.
Oh no, yeah. Oh no, silver's my one true weakness. Okay, so just 4 silver arrow hits here. That's 1. That's 3. And that is 4. Get your GGs in chat for the Daddy Gamers and the Cool Rush Gamers in general.
And so we will see if we can get them in here for an interview. The thing about this seed, so with that win, that puts the Cool Rush Gamers up to 12 points. Both teams, unfortunately, have already been eliminated from playoff contention, but that does put them in a tie for 5th place with the Talking Heads and Yoshi's on Skis, both of whom also still have 12 points. So might not make the playoffs, but can definitely still have a chance to move up the standings.
Yep, we'll be getting Daddy Gamers and Cool Papa Bell in here shortly. Hello, Daddy Gamers and Cool Papa Bell. How are you guys? Congratulations on the win. How are you guys feeling about that?
Thank you. Good. That was a heck of a route.
Yeah, that hammer location. When you found where the hammer was, did you think it was going to be that circuitous of a route to get there?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because usually you can get into Hera pretty easily, but we had to like dip into Dark World and get Mirror and just a mess.
Yeah, you looks like you routed through that one very well, though. I was kind of curious on a couple things when we went through there, but then it became more clear the later we got, especially that hammer location. It's just, I kept being like, okay, we go to the mirror leads to the hammer, obviously. Turns out there was about, 3 or 4 more steps in that?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, early on, like there were a couple times right in the middle where it was like, we were going to pod and I was like, oh crap, should we just be finishing pod? Should we be doing Eastern at the same time? But it's like, nope, the hammer is not till 40 minutes, so nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, and Eastern was required to get to the hammer, so that's... I think wasn't it literally the Desert Big Key on Armos?
Yep. Yeah, double dip Eastern was required. Because Pearl gave you the ability to fake flippers for the bow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the only thing that we kind of oopsed was could have had tempered a little earlier.
That's an understatement. It's all right.
Yeah, that's what was going to be my next question. Actually, was so did you? I wasn't paying attention to your bomb count. Do you guys just kind of miss the tempered up on the floating island there?
Yeah, I didn't check it. Like I was listening to him, so I didn't even think to check floating island. And had I just let me scooch this way, I would have been like, oh hey, there's a sword there.
Yeah, and I didn't even look at it. I was just looking at Hookshot and Super Bunny to see what we needed out of there, and it's like, oh, whoops.
Whoops. Yeah, that happens.
But fortunately, it didn't make a difference. I mean, we had silvers for Vidi and silvers for Pod, and at that stage, the difference between tempered and master wasn't huge.
Yeah, we had already seen Siberian Bull go up for the one on Aga Tower. So we figured like, oh, well, you can just do Master Sword up the castle. Or up the Ganon's Tower and then just mirror and grab the tempered Aga Tower real quick before Ganon that was about when we started actually looking, because we spent actually most of the seed not looking at the actual spoiler log, other than for like the pendants and stuff.
Okay.
Just to have fun and see where things were. So it made the hammer hunt very interesting for us, I'll say.
Yeah, I didn't even think about mirroring into Aga Tower, but I think the tempered is worth it on the climb anyway, so I think it was probably faster to grab the one off of Floating Island on the way up.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, I didn't know there was one on the Floating Island at that point, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I think so. One thing that's interesting to note is you guys went to Ice Palace when you did, and at the same time, Siberian sort of went to Misery Mire instead. Was your thinking just to get silvers and cape as soon as you could, or was there more beyond that?
Go ahead, Cool Papa.
Yeah, it was mostly silvers, and it was also just like, since we had to kind of, or I don't know if we had to, but it felt like we had to go into desert first. That then, like, you're really not actually close to Mire. It feels like you're close to Mire, but if you're always just one flute away from Mire, you're always close to Mire. So it never really hurt to like put it off until we had silvers and some other safeties.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. That's kind of what I was thinking at that point too. I was just kind of curious if there was something in there at that point. But then you found both of the big keys you were missing. It's like, well, we know what everything else is, so Mire can't have that much unless it's the boot.
Yeah, I mean, it also makes sense. So I told Cool Papa, don't forget, I can icebreaker, so we can cut down a lot of time on Ice Palace if we need to. And he says, well, there are silvers. It's like, yeah, I want those for Vidi. If I'm on Master Sword, I want silvers for Vidi.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Like it's definitely worth it. I agree. And Icebreaker definitely did help a bunch too, because Siberian Bull didn't know it, so he was having a little bit of issues with the Ice Palace bomb.
Oof. You know what? It all evens out because I had my worst Lamolas 2 fight ever. So it all balances out because it wasn't until the very end where I started saying, okay, why don't you check on the stream? Like, do I have time? How am I doing? Or do I need to gun it? And I had mismarked my tracker. I'm thinking, oh, I'm done with pod. I had dipped pod, but I hadn't finished it. It's like, oh shoot, I'm not as far ahead as I thought. And then I think Cool Papa, did you say the tracker was off? Was the tracker off for him where we miscounted his dungeons?
Oh, no, I just kind of spaced in the franticness of trying to watch him and you at the same time, so.
Okay. So then it was, you have a little time. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's good. I'll get an extra potion. And then I'm having the worst Lamolas 2 fight of my life, and I'm thinking, gosh, I can't even imagine what would have been going through my head if it was, like, if I didn't know. If I didn't know, or it was much, much closer or something.
Yeah, it's nice to know it definitely helps to be able to let, especially as the pilot, it helps to let your runner know, be like, you're fine, relax, just do the fight. I just finished both my races myself as the pilot, so I understand how that feels, at least from Cool Papa's side.
Yeah, and I got to give shout outs to both of my runners that on my team that I could put them in very dumb situations, like, oh yeah, you're not getting red mail, sorry, or we're going into Skull Woods at 4 hearts, and they'll just do it. So it's been a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, fun for you.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's what we meant. Yeah, definitely. Like, I know I made my runner do 6 heart fighter sword Argus earlier. It's good times.
What was I'm trying to remember. Mothula, what big key was on Mothula?
Was that Eastern, or is that...
that was the Hera big
Hera.
key, which we needed for the GT big key.
The GT big key, yeah.
Good
I just
times.
remember... Sorry.
I was just going to say, we did Moth, and then TDG was like, wait, I can Hera pot. Why are we getting the Hera big key?
Yeah, and just to note, Super Salty Dungeoneer, Siberian just finished off his Ganon fight. So get your GGs in chat, and we will see if we can get them in for an interview as well.
Looks like they are already ready to go, so let's get them in here. Hello, Sonia and Siberian Bull. Congratulations on finishing that seed. Unfortunate death in Ganon's tower there.
Yeah. Oh well, I still had some cool kills.
Yeah.
True.
Oh man. So, before any questions are asked, I want to preface this with one thing. This is the first time I've actually done anything with a spoiler log.
Yeah, you can get lost in that thing real fast.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun, actually. I didn't get as lost as I thought I would. And to be completely honest, I didn't really get lost at all. Because I had the log opened, and then I had another notepad document open, noting out what we needed for sure. And then just started finding everything, putting that puzzle together as we were running.
Yeah, there's definitely the long, complicated path to get to that hammer that you guys actually did pretty differently. They ended up going for that mirror a lot earlier than you guys did. I don't know if that's because, was that just you guys not realizing, hoping to get away without needing that mirror until you can get the hammer? Or?
I was taking the long way around. I didn't think about it when I was down in Hype Cave, when I was down in Hype Pit Cave, because I could have swam around to Eastern, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I was wondering that as well, because I saw you went to Hype Cave, but you had grabbed the Smith. Makes it so. I think the monkey actually would kick the Smith out, but should be fine. But
that was the other problem.
So yeah, that saved a bit of time for them for sure. And the other major thing I was wondering about was why the Meyer finished before doing Ice Palace.
If I remember correctly, we were already in desert at that point in time, so we just went ahead and got them done.
I think you had to actually flute back to do it.
Maybe.
We did because we did desert,
yeah.
and then we went to Hyrule to get our tempered, and then we went back to desert.
Oh, right.
Because our master sword was in the map chest in desert.
That's what it was. Yes.
Okay, that's, I just was wondering because because the Cool Papa and TheDaddyGamers rather went and did Ice Palace first and got their silver, which definitely made Vitreous saved them some time on Vitreous.
Yeah, I had been thinking about leading towards Ice Palace and decided against it. Which, in hindsight, I shouldn't have, but you know what they say about hindsight.
It is 2020.
Indeed.
We also did sub 30 bottle percent, so we're happy about that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, those bottles came fast and furious this seed, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you both filled up on potions several times. I believe TheDaddyGamers, you finished off with like 4 rupees or something when you first finished buying potions before Ganon's Tower.
Yes, my pilot is so good, he made me get just the right amount of rupees.
Calculated, I swear.
Yeah. Yeah, it was literally as I was going from light to dark world on the Turtle Rock portal. I said, "Hey, Papa, look at my money." Like, I didn't realize how close I was to barely affording that blue. I just looked up, was like, "Oh, I can afford the blue," and went and got it. And then as I was heading to Tower of Hero, I was like, "Wow, that's actually, that's tight."
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing Siberian Bull farming a whole bunch of rupees. I think you're at 600 at one point almost. I'm like, oh, it must be Zora required because.
Well, Zora could have been required, but we didn't do it.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Good old Turtle Rock pendant, green pendant TR. Gotta love it.
Yeah, when I asked Papa, I said, "Hey, can you find money?" Because when I realized, okay, I got to do Skull Woods with, Fire Rod and like no half magic and I don't know 5-6 hearts
and fighter sword.
And oh yeah, that's right. I had fighter sword, so I couldn't even barely damage him. And that's why I went into Hype Cave just for the 300 rupees.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
Why I let Siberian in there as well.
Yeah, you probably saw me stutter step because like, are you sure there's nothing else worth going back here for? And
I'm here for rupees? Trust me, you want them.
Every time in the beginning as we did this, and I kept hearing Cool Pop go, "Oh jeez, oh my god!" Like, I'm just trying to think what this seed would have been like if it wasn't a pilot. Like, could you imagine running this as a key sanity and having to do Pendant Moth for Tower of Terror Big Chest Key for GT Big Key. Like that just especially now with everyone Hera pot clipping.
Yeah, that would have been rough.
Yeah, the number of GT Big Key fetch quests we've been on in practicing for this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think my favorite one when I was practicing was the big key was on library, but the boots were in Skullwood's big chest, but the Skullwood's big key was in Gan.
Come again? Skullwood's GT in Ganon's Tower? Gross!
Yeah. Yeah, it was a thing. Fortunately, I didn't have to subject anyone to that one. I will remember it. So anyway, once again, great job on riding for both of the co-pilots and running for both the runners. It was a fun run to watch. You got any questions for Marista?
Just in general, so this is your second match this week. What are you guys thinking about the co-pilot week? You guys looking for, or excuse me, not the co-pilot week, the co-op week. You looking forward to it? You all practiced up on that?
Looking forward to it. Yes, all practiced up. No. But
I'm looking forward to a slightly less frantic week next week. So I'm glad we got these out of the way early.
Yeah.
I will say this is really fun as the runner. I really enjoyed practicing with Cool Papa and running this. It's a lot of fun to just kind of let go, just speed through the game as fast as possible, and just tell me where to go, and I'll do it.
Yeah. The main reason is because the way my work schedule is, Monday and Tuesday was the best, and for Sonny it was also his best. So it ended up being that we got to get this early in the week, otherwise we might be pushing it. So it just ended up working out.
Yeah, and this week has been a ton of fun. I enjoy running this game, but holy cow, piloting is a blast.
Yeah, this has been my favorite week of the tournament so far. Agreed.
Now, as for next week, doing the actual info share co-op, that's something I do fairly regularly with people, so I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Good. So, I guess that's all I have, unless anybody has something otherwise. Otherwise, I'll take us through our outro here.
I just want to thank our tracker, Bandman25, for tracking for us today. Did a wonderful I think we got one more match today. No more matches today. This is the last one of the night. We will be starting at 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow with Worldwide Wimpy versus Zeitnix. I don't know if we have confirmed a restream channel, but pay attention to the schedule. It'll be on there. And with that, and also thank you to my co-com Marista, of course. And with that, I'll let you take us out.
Sounds good. So one last time, thank you very much to our runners, Siberian Bull and the Daddy Gamers. Thank you to their co-pilots, Cool Papa Bell and Sonny Wrath. Thank you to my co-commentator, Freddie, and tracker Bandman. Thank you to Speed Gaming 4 for hosting. We will be taking you out. As Freddie mentioned, there's nothing else the rest of the day, but there's a bunch more matches later this week, starting tomorrow and then continuing all the way through the weekend. So definitely keep an eye on the ALTTPR League website for all the updated schedule, restreams, etc. Thank you very much for everybody for watching, and have a good night.